Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Reese number TJ3A. This is a threshold hook, a J hook. If you use your imagination, you can see why we would call it a J. A lock strip, I suppose some people will call it. But a threshold hook strip is what I would know it as. This is a piece of equipment that is intended to be nailed to the bottom of a wood door and is meant to be used in concert with an interlocking threshold that has an interlocking threshold. An interlocking threshold is going to have a lip on it that the lip is going to shoot inside of this. What is here a V sort of profile, that's a bit distorted because when the factory cut the material, they flattened it out a bit. You would need to kind of get in there and open that up a little bit like I just did with my tool. And what happens is this is going to install onto the bottom of your door. And I'll tell you, most people don't even know that they have it installed on their door. I mean, seriously, people don't even know it's there. It's going to look like that on the bottom of your door. That little gizmo there is the nail. But they end up figuring out that it's there. And I'll tell you why in a moment. As soon as I finish my horrible drawing. It's kind of what it looks like when it's all said and done, roughly speaking. Okay. People don't know what's there until they unhang the door from the hinges and go to paint the door, and they set it down and don't think nothing of it. They paint their door and then rehang it, and all of a sudden the door doesn't close. And they look under the door and say, my gospel, I had no idea that there was anything underneath there. Happens all the time. Hey, why doesn't my door work? I bought this, I took my door off and painted it. Send me a picture of your threshold. Yep, it's an interlocking threshold. I tell them, there's a metal strip underneath your door that you've just crushed. You can try to open it up, probably just meaning bend it back open. Probably better just to order a new strip. And these will fatigue with time, but generally what happens is the door is no longer fit very well. It's sagging a little bit. This is making abrasive contact with it. It will get worked loose. There are nails that are included with this, okay, for you to use to install. They will get ovalized with time because what are you doing? Every time you're closing this against the door, this piece is acting as the stop. And this incredibly thin gauge of aluminum is what's stopping the door at the bottom. So that will get worked loose over time. But the expectancy, the life expectancy of these that I've seen is measured in decades. Literally decades. Because a residential application is very low volume use. But nonetheless, they do last a long time until you find a way to crush it by putting the door down on top of it. That one I've not done. I've done a lot of dumb things. That one I've not done yet. This has a little giddy up in it. This is a piece of aluminum. I imagine it's roll formed. This little giddy up that's here. It is definitely hard to see on the screen here. And it doesn't really show very well. But this area under my finger is recessed higher, then this drops down here. It's hard to see in the camera, but it does drop down. This area up here gives room to accommodate the head of the nails that are there. You need to have a little bit of room so that the head of the nails don't hit anything. If you're replacing one, this is probably going to be a perfect replacement for you. And overall, you're going to probably be in about the 1/8 of an inch, or maybe, about an 1/8 of an inch range from the bottom of the door to the center of that interlock. And it's about 15/16 overall width. Okay. This happens to be a 3-foot piece, available really in any length. If you have need for a custom length, order the next longest piece or pieces, and indicate in the comment field the net length you'd like for us to ship the material out at, and we'd be happy to supply it that way. There's a link below this video to a document called Product Brochure, where you can review a couple of interlock thresholds from Reese. You'll also see the TL4 hook. Same concept, but it's an L hook, and it's mounted to the face of the door and will still communicate to the lip on the threshold, just like this, rather than like this, so that's no problem to do it that way as well. They're not common, but they're not unheard of. We do sell those occasionally. You could also do that 203. Well, that would be a nice hook to put on there as well if you can tolerate something hanging off the pull side of your door. Now, if you're doing a new installation, you might also get a little fancier with this. You'll notice that we've really sucked up a lot of room in this area here. Well, you could get a little fancy with it. And just forgive me as I draw this. I'll just do it quickly without really concern. You could mortise the bottom of your door to give yourself that sort of concept where you are reducing the amount of gap between the top of the threshold and the bottom of your door. Over here it has to go all the way through. You could give yourself that sort of concept as well. Not unheard of to mortise to notch the bottom of the door. Not at all, in fact. Northwest suburbs of Chicago, where I grew up, homes built in the 1950s and 60s, interlock thresholds everywhere on those doors. This kitchen door, you know, the driveway, detached garage, kitchen door leads you into the house. You got a front door and a basement door generally. That kitchen door always had an interlock threshold, always, every time I see it. So it's a very good concept. There's actually 3 of them there. I'll tell you, the one that I like is the S252. That is your belt and suspenders. That's going to give you a seal on the bump up and then a mechanical seal on the lip of that threshold. That cool cat we don't sell enough of, but I do sell them occasionally. That's when you really want to stop it in its tracks, create a seal at 2 places. From a thermal efficiency perspective, maybe metal touching metal, not so thermally efficient, but I'll tell you this, that mechanical sort of interlock that you're going to have can't be beat. Now in Chicago, we're trying to, where I grew up, we're trying to keep the cold out, the air out, because that's going to come in, it's going to condensate, it's going to hit the moist air. Ain't nothing moist in the winter, but the fact of the matter is it'll cause problems. In the Southwest, they're less concerned about snow coming in, even though they can be. They're concerned about scorpions. They're concerned about critters getting in their house. That mechanical interlock stops that dead in the tracks as well. So it's more than just a weather stripping sort of solution. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Reese products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The name Reese is one that I'm incredibly partial to, and it's because I love the quality of their finished material. I love the caliber of the material that they use. Their extrusions are heavier. Every time you get a threshold, you say to yourself, gosh, that feels heavier than what I'm used to. It's because the extrusion's thicker, that's why. Their customer service is gymnastic when it comes to bending over backwards to solve problems, and they do it at industry-leading lead times. If you have any questions on the Reese, this is their part number TJ3, and they say it's made of aluminum, and I have no reason to question that at all. It feels like aluminum as well. Or any other Reese product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.